Right now, Labor is giving billions in handouts to investors and landlords through negative gearing and capital gains tax handouts. This is driving up prices and rents and locking young people out. Labor's biggest budget expenditure on housing is for tax breaks for wealthy property investors. Labor is making the rental crisis worse. Labor should stop giving handouts to property moguls with more than one investment property and instead use that money to fund a rent freeze, double rent assistance, and build even more government-owned public and affordable housing. This isn't about someone who owns one extra house or flat as an investment in addition to their main residence. They're not affected by the Greens' proposal. We're calling for an end to the tax breaks that the government is currently giving to people who own 3, 4, 12 or 25 properties. It's about the 20,000 wealthy moguls who own more than 6 properties each and claim these handouts for the 151,000 houses that they own between them. Half of all the billions in negative gearing tax concessions goes to the top 20% of households. All up, the Greens' proposal would raise $74.1 billion over the decade and cost $69.4 billion. Tackling the rental crisis actually saves the government money. Instead, Labor wants to gamble $10 billion in the Future Fund and, if it makes a profit, build social and affordable homes with no minimum spend and spending capped at $500 million a year. And if the fund makes a loss, like last year, nothing is spent. Imagine if the government spent no money on public schools one year because a stock market gamble backfired. That's what they're proposing for housing. Labor says it will build 30,000 homes in 5 years across the country and then nothing. And at the end, the waiting lists will be longer than they are now. And even if Labor's bill passed tomorrow, by the next election, there won't be a single home built. We don't need billions gambled on a fund for the future. We need direct investment and help right now. $5 billion a year would see 225,000 homes built. The Greens want to see the government do what governments have done in the past: spend public money on public investments. Governments should just build the damn homes itself, not gamble money on the stock market. Labor is currently pressuring the Greens to pass their weak housing bill that sees the housing crisis get worse. But if Labor wants our support on the housing bill, it needs to come to the table on the rental crisis and on building more public and affordable housing. With all his question time contempt about a rent freeze being pixie dust and his reported delight about campaigning at the next election on his housing bill failing in the Senate, the Prime Minister needs to understand that this isn't an inner-city council meeting and a chance to get even with the Greens. This is a full-blown nationwide rental crisis that needs to be confronted. The Prime Minister's scorn shows he hasn't kept up with the sea change in Australia's housing system.